We are going to make another randomly generated character. Now, Helios, something for you to remember as a beginner, or as we're coming into this. This method of character generation is not standard. Not that you can't make a first level character in this method. And you very much can. Though just remember that we're producing, randomly leveled characters with different different options that could come at higher levels that you won't have generating a first level character or even going up to 4 or 5 with it. Yep, like an audiobook or radio show, Pat. Yep, Audible's my friend. They're currently on color at the moment. If you want to see some progress pics, I could message you on Discord. Alright, let's see. Do we have a male or female character? Roll a percentile and find out. 14, we have a female character. And now let's determine her race with a D10. We'll re-roll a 10 if we get it. A 7. We have a half-elf. Let's roll the D10 again. 2. She favors her elven half. Now that could be genetically. Maybe she just looks more elven than human. Or it could just be culturally or linguistically. She just identifies more with her elven heritage than with her human. It's really just a storytelling tiebreaker. Or it's just a fun consideration too. You get several half-elves in a room, and some of them are going to have longer, pointier ears. Rounder eyes instead of almond eyes. They're going to be different sizes, shapes, etc. And so some will feature more prominent elven characteristics than they would human. Okay, Pat. I don't know. It could just be the word processor or something then. But thank you for that heads up. Her alignment will be next. We're going to calculate that using 2D percentiles. 80 and 10. Oh, she was just on the border of being evil. 80 and 10 is lawful neutral. We don't have to worry about the evil special rules. We were one away from it, though, weren't we? Now let's determine her level with a percentile roll. 30. 30 is going to land us in the realm of level 8. Real quick, she's a medium-sized creature. There we go. That means that she is going to get an ability score improvement at 4 and at 8. I'm going to roll a percentile die, and or I guess dice in this case, and determine of the 2 stat bumps, how many of them will be feats instead. At 35, we're going to take both stat bumps. Now I'm going to generate a 13-sided die, and we're going to find out which background she has. Background 12, she is a soldier. Oh, hey, Rykon. Yeah, we were close to having an evil character. She was just a little shy of it, though. Now, as you can see, soldiers have a D8 origin. There are 8 different types of soldier backgrounds. I'm going to roll a D8 and add that next to soldier. All right, so it's number 5. I don't know what that means, and that's not important right now. It's a placeholder. And speaking of which, let's generate a couple other personality placeholders. You get 2 personality traits, and she is going to be 7 and 8. Then we have an ideal bond and flaw. 5, 4, and 1. All right, there's our placeholders, and we'll come back and understand what that means in a little bit. Now we press this magic golden D12 to determine if we're going to get a third bard this week. That seems to be the case, right? Let's hit it. And 7. Number 7 is a Paladin. Okay. Now, Paladins are going to get a couple options here. Being a Paladin, you have 4 different fighting styles that are available to you, and there are 3 different oaths. Those oaths, unless you're evil, and then you get an optional one, those oaths reflect, that's your archetype. Let's roll a D4 for the fighting style. 3. All right. Fighting style. Number 3 for Paladin is Great Weapon. And her oath is going to be, let's make a D3 here, roll it. Her oath is number 2, Oath of the Ancients. All right, so we have Paladin, Oath of the... Now I'm just going to put Ancients here to not make the font get super small. There we go. For the last little bit of random number generation, let's take our half-elf stat line here. She's going to start at 4'9", and we're going to add 2d8 inches to her height. We're going to add 6 inches, so she is going to be 4'15". So 5'3". There we go. We're going to take this same 6, multiply it by 2d4, and add that to her base weight. All right, another 6. So we're going to add 36 pounds to 110. She is 146 pounds. Lomington, I'm very glad that you're enjoying the process. Hopefully, as we generate this character bit by bit, are you able to imagine her a little bit more? You know, are you able to pull from the mists of creation this personality and physical, this 3D silhouette? Helios thinks that she's a magic missile catcher as a paladin. Great weapon. Oh, all right, Sarikon. Well, I'm glad that you know, we don't have a monk, but if you like a great weapon paladin, then I'm glad you got your wish. Twin a great sword. What does that oath mean? You're a green knight. You're sort of a druidic paladin. I'll get to the details in just a little bit. All right, last bit of generation. We're going to roll on a distribution curve, 45. That is going to put her as an adult. So here's column 3, adult. We cross-reference it here with half-elf. She's between 56 and 90 years old. So this is going to be a 35-sided die that we're going to generate, and we're going to hit roll. 16. All right, so 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 65, right, yeah, 70, 71. She's an adult of 71 years. Oh, by virtue of her being just a soldier background. Okay. Okay, we have finished generating the numbers we need. We've planted the seeds. Now let's, fertilize them, tend them, let them grow in order to harvest a wonderful character at the end of the process. I recommend starting with your background. This is going to explain who your character is. And while your race and your class give you some really solid mechanics, your background will as well. Those tell you what your character does. Your background tells us who your character is. Just being a paladin isn't necessarily... it can be a roleplay prompt, but that doesn't really get into who is your paladin. We know that there's an oath and that, he or she might run around and right wrongs and, cast light spells and, donate to charity, etc. Why? What happened in your character's life? Why are you pious? Why are you rambunctious? Why do you have this thirst for vengeance or whatnot? Yes, Derek, the total is greater than the sum of its parts. Chapter 4 has our backgrounds, and they are listed alphabetically. So we are going to scroll: Hermit, Outlander, Sage, and Sailor, Soldier. Here we go. We are going to have skill proficiencies in athletics and in intimidation. We will have a tool proficiency in some kind of a gaming set. Yeah, the gaming set could be cards, chess, dragon chess, which I think is kind of like a 3D chess. 3 Dragon Ante, which is its own card game, kind of like a D&D poker. Or it could be, I don't know, is there another type of board or card game, or some throwing dice or something along those lines? That is something you're proficient at doing because, look, when you're hanging out with the other soldiers waiting for orders, that's what you did. Or Connect 4. So in this case, we can just type in gaming set, and we can have it be whatever we think would be appropriate. We have the placeholder in there, so a little detail like that, I don't know. We can always revisit. There's not necessarily a list of card games. So that would really be up to you, Mola. You could just put cards if you really wanted to, or because 3 Dragon Ante is cards, but that's not a traditional deck. It's its own kind of thing. Yeah, knuckle dice. Casting lots in different ways. There's all kinds of ways. There's old. There's like Mancala. The game with the little that's on the wood with the little pits, and you move the stones. Something like backgammon, perhaps. Lomington, that is Gwent. Gwent. Rykon has it. So yeah, you could have even something like that if you really want. And we are also proficient at vehicles land. In other words, we know how to drive a wagon even in perilous circumstances like rain, wind, maybe even if the animal panics, that kind of a thing. Darkwolf says Mancala is fun. Nine Man's Morris is another fun one. I haven't heard of that one. If you really want to be meta, then the soldiers have created a role-playing game where they pretend to, I don't know, do something else. One of my favorites was a game of Dragon Chess with Death. The player actually had to play chess against Death while having a philosophical conversation as to why their life should be considered any more than another. Ooh, that's an interesting story, Derek. It's not quite, up to when Death played Battleship with Bill and Ted on their bogus journey. Seriously though, Derek, that would have been an interesting. I'd have loved to have been a fly on the wall for that roleplay bit. Lomington, yeah, soldier that toes around backgammon set, a really great visual. And if you didn't want it to be even something like that, I mean, look at I don't know, what about playing croquet, right? You just need the little iron loops. Someone carries some mallets, or I don't know, you guys use your warhammers or whatever, and then someone just has some wooden balls, or it could be a recreational game like that. It doesn't even have to be just cards or dice. All right, we're gonna get some equipment. This, it'll begin with an insignia of rank. Talk to your DM about what rank you were in the military, or currently are. A trophy taken from a fallen enemy. Now, does it have to be fallen? Not necessarily. Maybe you found it on a battlefield. Maybe it was gifted to you. There's a lot of different ways you came across it. In this case, what we'll do is we'll roll up a trinket, and we'll find out what trinket was given or found or taken on a battlefield. Dark Wolf, it's quite easy to learn. I don't have a board, but it's not hard to draw up. I'll teach you next time we have free time. Yeah, and you know what? If that's a cool game that can be incorporated in, that would be... I think that'd be a lot of fun. Derek says, well, remember, in my game, Death is lawful good, and she looks at it more like a case of trying to be fair. She's more lovingly pruning a bonsai tree than being a depiction of the Grim Reaper. Life is the chaotic evil element. Something too as a gaming set, things that could be portable, easy to use out on a battlefield. Well, I mean, you have things like lawn darts, and of course darts are their own weapon. There's bocce ball, or they could even just, I don't know, some other kind of gaming set. The Mancala one would have been interesting. You might also argue, hopefully you don't argue, but if there is something that is in your soldier's personality that maybe she's a painter, and so instead of a gaming set proficiency, she actually gets artist tools proficiency. Maybe as a way to bring cheer to her fellow soldiers, as a way to cope with the horrors of war. Maybe it's just something that she's just carried with her, and it's just a part of her. You could ask for, painter's supplies as a proficiency, or even something, I don't know. Actually, this will be a good example. We're soldier number 5. If we look at the chart here, that means that she was a healer. Talk about wanting to go into being a paladin, right? Well, before she took these oaths and were granted these divine powers by by her faith, if she was a healer, maybe instead of a gaming set, it would have been appropriate to make her proficient with a healer's kit or an herbalism kit or something along those lines. You could make that pitch really easily to your DM, and it would be thematic, and it's kind of the same slot, you're just stepping sideways. Derek says, not much of a spiritual person, but I always love the notion of death being a presence, and it's more akin to a loving mother personality than anything else. Have you ever read Sandman? Oh, yeah. She's proficient in boulder parchment shears. That's right. She, you know, she can, you know, unsheath with the best of them, right? Yep, Frontline Medic. Maybe this is something that ended up awakening her faith. You know, she saw the horrors, and so this roused something inside of her. Okay, so she has a trophy, a set of bone dice, or a deck of cards, or something that's appropriate to the game, or in this case, if your DM allowed you to take a healing kit, then you could argue, hey, can I have a healing kit then too? A set of common clothes. And a belt pouch containing 10 gold. I don't know if you want the common clothes to be just that, or, you know, Acolyte will give you a set of vestments for using your, you know, maybe not directly magically by invoking spells from a domain, but, you know, for saying prayers and conducting certain rituals. While the soldier doesn't give you your uniform, whether it's your old one or your current one, that's something else that you can talk to your DM about. You know, instead of common clothes, or in addition to common clothes, do I still have my uniform? Or a dress uniform? Or, I don't know, something else. Yeah, I agree, Derek. Pat says maybe she was trying to save a brother in arms, but had to face death in order to save him. And so, in so overcoming death, is that how she awoke this ancient power inside of her? Darkwolf says, quick 9-man's Morris description. You and your opponent take turns placing 9 pieces each on a board. If you connect 3, you remove one of your opponent's pieces. You can block your opponent's pieces so they can't connect 3. If you or your opponent are down to 3 pieces, you can move anywhere on the board instead of following the lines on the board. If you completely block your opponent or get them down to 2 pieces, you win. Derek says, ever see Mash? Thinking of a quote from Hawkeye. How is he constantly in competition with death as though it was a scoreboard? Quote, don't let that bastard win. In facing death, she realizes that one of her gods was willing to help her as it was a worthy effort. And so this will dovetail a little bit, by the way, into what this Oath of the Ancients will give her in just a little bit. So her background was a healer. Her feature is military rank. Again, speak to your DM about this. You have a military rank from your career as a soldier. Soldiers loyal to your former military organization. And by the way, soldier doesn't have to be a formal, I fight for the king, or, you know, the army of the republic or whatever. Maybe you were a mercenary. You know, you had your own band. Yep, that's right, Raikon. The random character generation does allow for that to happen if you're evil. You can invoke your rank to exert influence over other soldiers and requisition simple equipment or horses for temporary use. You can also usually gain access to friendly military encampments and fortresses where your rank is recognized. Yeah, so she could be, like an Ordo Hospitaller or something along those lines? Oh, yes, in Osakachi, I like Death and Supernatural, he liked pie. Suggested characteristics. Now let's find out what these numbers meant. Number 7. I have a crude sense of humor. Number 8. I face problems head on. A simple, direct solution is the best path to success. In this case, if she's a frontline medic, she's not going to baby you. She's not going to be a nurse. If you get an arrow, in your arm, she'll give you like a leather strap to bite on, and she'll, if it's either a serrated one or it has the points facing back, this is going to hurt, but we got to heal you. You push it all the way through, you break off the arrowhead, then you remove it, and then you treat the wound. She's very practical, very direct. Doesn't mean she's not compassionate, but and she'll probably tell you a joke afterwards as you're like in and out of pain in this situation. She tells you that this is her holy ministry, as you just now have a new hole in you. She may actually be Hawkeye with that sense of humor. Probably very blunt, yes. Blunt has a crude sense of humor. She'll make some, off-color remarks or lewd jokes, or, some different, like racial humor or whatever. Derek says definitely Hawkeye. Her ideal is number 5. Live and let live. Ideals aren't worth killing over or going to war for. So, she treated people. That doesn't necessarily mean that she was all aboard for, yes, we're going to retake our territory, or we're going to go conquer territory. Or, I'm sure she wanted to defend things, but she was there for the job, not necessarily for, I am on this, I feel like a righteous force to push out and, and exert over other people, because I have to deal with the people that have had exertion, pushed on them or were pushing behind. Lomington, have you tried not getting an arrow in your shoulder? Either that, or the guy who keeps coming back. She's like, you came in 10 times. Your 11th visit to the healer's tent is free. Her bond is 4. I'll never forget the crushing defeat that my company suffered, or the enemies who dealt it. Those could be, other humans or humanoids. Those could be, maybe bestial humanoids like gnolls, or, or we could go kind of the classic, well, the orcs are invading again, or goblins or something. This could be, monstrous creatures. All it says is enemies. It could be devils and demons. It could have been, on the front line of a fiendish or a holy war. It could be, it could be a lot of different things. Use your imagination. Make sure that these personality aspects, you can take them literally if you'd like. But don't be afraid to stretch that idea out. Play with it a little bit. How else could this be taken? Is there a metaphor in this? That could have been her breaking point or salvation point where she gains her faith. Yeah, she's at the absolute bottom of the barrel. She's trying to treat everyone. She can't keep up. She's in that mentality that you can't sew hamburger back into a cow. And she hits this rock bottom. She is completely emptied of her energy and even her faith, at least in what she used to know. And it's at this lowest point in time that, there's that spark or that realization or a manifestation in some magical or divine way. And her flaw is number 1. If I'm outnumbered, I will run away from a fight. Now, this is going to be interesting, as paladins are known for their courage, and they exude an aura of courage. How could you roleplay through this? Now, look, she's starting at level 1 at some point in time, and over time she can grow. But what if you kept this as a flaw? And yes, you'll have an ability that will allow you to not be frightened. Can you, as a player, if maybe this bond, right, this was such a crushing defeat, and yes, it led to you becoming this holy warrior in some way, can you still roleplay through your chattering teeth, your nervous knees knocking together? You know, if you're clanking around in plate armor or whatever, and you start and you get surrounded, you know, even if it's like a bunch of goblins, right? You get like 8 goblins around you, and then you just hear that clink, 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 clink because your knees are shaking, or you get really nervous, or you just get quiet. You don't respond to other people. Maybe you describe your character breaks out in a nervous sweat. You're not mechanically frightened, but that does not mean that you still can't be shaken in some way. Dilated pupils. Maybe you put in a mouth guard or something. You click your tongue nervously. I don't know, if it's distraught enough, maybe you actually do run away. Your aura helps other people not be frightened, and you can choose to ignore a mechanic, you know, especially if it's roleplay worthy. You know, is it at the point where you wet yourself and run? That is an interesting... Is that more of an interesting paladin than just having this righteous crusader, knight in shining armor, is not afraid of anything, and go from there, than to know that you can technically not be frightened, and yet you are? What emotions can you convey through a character that has a flaw like that? Especially in the face of, yes, you have mechanics that can cancel it, but you're choosing to roleplay that weakness in your character because that is your personal flaw. Hi, Bubonic One. Good to see you. Nope, we do not have a bard tonight, Bubonic. We have a paladin, Oath of Ancients. Running away from a fight is not necessarily cowardice. It could be grim pragmatism. Oh, hey, Bobicus. Now we just need Bobo, and the Balluminati is all assembled. Yeah, it could be a strategic withdrawal, so to speak. If she has to retreat with an injured person, that's justifiable too. Yeah, if that's her focus, to still be this healer in her own way. Lomington, but as the healer, you need to survive or at least outlive your party. I think that flaw looks like cowardice may actually be her saving grace. And you know what? If that's, from that angle, Lomington, she may see it as a flaw, and over the course of the campaign, she might learn to then actually just accept that this is a part of her, and her role is different than others. You know, being a paladin, she hears all this knight in shining armor. I have to be on the front line. I have to lead people to justice and crusades and, etc. and so forth. And yet, this whole time, she wasn't chosen for that. She was chosen for her compassion. She was chosen for her just blunt, simple nature, for her wanting to help other people. You know, a very simple thing. Babika says, I have a fighter who got traumatized by an ambush that he was the sole survivor of. He constantly thinks of what the worst case scenario is and which of his companions are quote-unquote acceptable losses. Which played into the time... that fed into when he... Is this... Oh, no, wait. Was that the fighter that killed the rogue in the temple over over that gift, Babicus? Bubonic One, she who fights and runs away lives to fight another day. There's also that adage of there's old soldiers, there's bold soldiers, but there's no old, bold soldiers. Yeah. Oh, yes. That was a stolen book, Bobicus. And you know what, Bobicus? It sounds like you had a justified reason for that. So now we have a good idea of who the character is. Now we can focus a little bit more on what she does, and we are going to use her personality to flavor what she does. Right? Her skills and other things. Go up to races, and we come down here to a half-elf. And let's see what goodies we get. Our charisma automatically goes up by 2, and that will help out with the casting of spells. She's going to get 1 in something else. If she's going to be a great weapon user, that's probably going to end up being strength. We are medium-sized. We do have a walking or a run speed of 30. Giving us a 15 climb, 15 swim, and 0 fly. We do have also 60 feet of dark vision. We have Fey ancestry. We cannot be magically put to sleep, and we have advantages versus being charmed. We're going to get proficiency in 2 skills of our choice. I'm going to make a little note down here, 2 skills. And our languages are going to be Common, Elven, and something else. Hi, Kruger. Good to see you. Only fight to the death in Death Ground. Always consider the way to escape and keep it in the back of your mind. As a fireman, we're taught to always keep a way to retreat. The police are the nincompoops who do the dangerous stuff and get paid for it. Alright, so this is what we get by virtue of being a half-elf. Let's move on to, now, we're going to become a paladin. 8th level, so these are the goodies that we're getting. Goody to us. Our proficiency bonus is going to be a 3. We're going to have 4 first-level spell slots and 3 second-level spell slots. We are a D10 hit die class, and we're level 8, so we get 8 of them. Nice and easy, right? Proficiencies with all armor and shields. Weapon training is going to be simple and martial. Wisdom and charisma are going to be our saving throw proficiencies. And we're going to get to choose 2 skills from athletics, insight, intimidation, medicine, persuasion, and religion. Kruger, I have not heard of that YouTube channel. Oh yeah, I remember that incident where they called a fireman out and then used used firearms on the firemen, bubonic. Of the 2 that you can get by virtue of being a paladin, I think for sure, given her healer role, medicine would be one of them. If that's the case, what else would stand out to you? What would, given her personality, remember, she has a crude sense of humor, and she faces problems head-on. A simple, direct solution is the best path to success. Live and let live. Ideals aren't worth killing over or going to war for. I'll never forget the crushing defeat that my company suffered or the enemies who dealt it. If I'm outnumbered, I will run away from a fight. Perception is not by the class availability. Perception isn't there. Insight is, as Bobicus pointed out. Though, keep in mind, we can still choose 2 skills from being a half-elf. Insight could be good. Also, I think Persuasion would be good for her, too. Especially when it comes down to her personality traits. We're getting Insight? Sure. Okay. Now we get 2 more skills for her being a half-elf. We could give her Perception Bubonic. We could do Perception through half-elf. I'm imagining someone pragmatic and slightly paranoid. In an always prepared sort of way. Maybe, I don't know if... Persuasion seems like it would be really strong. Right? If she has the crude sense of humor, it's a way to try and persuade people in a way. I face problems head on, a simple direct solution. I'm going to persuade you with my way. Ideals aren't worth killing or going to war for. Survival, I don't know if... I guess I could see where those 2 overlap. I don't know if she's necessarily a survivalist, right? If you're a healer as a soldier, you're usually well taken care of. Yes, you would have had to go through basic training, but people bring you supplies. People bring you food and water. You know, people will relieve you of your, of your duty to go get rest. I don't know if she's necessarily the type who would have been specialized to forage and survive and track in that way. Now, if a lot of you think that survival could work, I have no problems changing it. Otherwise, I plopped it into Persuasion because I think she does want to try and be persuasive, given her personality traits and such. She's a healer. So she served in some kind of a military or mercenary unit, and she had the role of a healer in it. A martial weapon and a shield, or 2 martial weapons. Well, we could probably go martial weapon and a shield. Wait, would a healer sort of stay back with the animals? Possibly, unless she's a front line. You know, she could have rushed up alongside, alongside people to try and be in their midst, or not be too far behind, so that as injured soldiers were drugged back, they didn't have to be drugged all the way back to camp. There was this sort of midpoint. She is a great weapon fighting style, Paladin. Though that doesn't mean that we can't give her a martial weapon like a great sword and then a shield if she needs to use one. And then we come down here and we'll give her a simple melee weapon of like a mace or something. So she can do a one-handed weapon and a shield if she wants, or she can stow those and take out her, her meat cleaver or her mercy giver or whatever she'd call her great weapon. So if we do that, then we'll go Great Marshal. We will give her a shield. Now, something to consider, if she's not wielding the shield, you have to, well, however you want to look at it, a shield provides +2 AC. So If she's wearing chain armor, which she is going to be receiving, that starts at AC 16. If she's two-handing her greatsword, she's at a 16. If she has her greatsword or great axe or maul, like, I don't know, she run around with a big hammer, possibly. So she's going offensive and she loses some defense, or she can fight defensively as well. So because we're going to just sort of by default give her this great weapon, I'm going to put a shield in her inventory for consideration. So we have a great martial weapon, and she gets any simple melee weapon. So that could be something just like a mace. She probably has, let's see. So if she had this almost like personal crisis that unlocked her faith, and now she goes out and she is using her gifts. At the same time, she does seem very practical. I don't know if she'd carry a priest's pack. She probably has an explorer's pack, especially by being a soldier. She's not necessarily a chaplain. So maybe she would actually carry around an explorer's pack instead. Blunt weapons feel right. So Fluffy Sheep, we can give her a maul if in that case. A leg chopper, says Osakachi. Or she's part of a mass unit for a large army. Healers are divided among combat and non-combat. If she's combat, she's not in the back. If she's not a true combatant, then she's part of a mass unit. Bubonic continues. She may not like the sight of blood outside. I know that feeling. Outside the medical setting, maybe possibly. Give her blunt weapons so she doesn't draw blood. Bobicus, yep, that's a good idea. King says give her a giant scalpel or an oversized syringe/spear. King Von Ale, this is not an anime. This is as realistic as we are making Western European high magic fantasy D&D. We might as well just give her a chainmail bikini, for goodness sakes. Running around with a giant syringe. Alright, so we'll give her a maul as her two-handed weapon. Then give her a saw so she can amputate limbs. Now that we have our proficiencies, we are going to be getting a couple other goodies, such as Divine Sense. That's our Detect Evil and Good. We are also going to be receiving Lay on Hands. And actually, down here, Lay on Hands, this extra little box on the first page is great for such a thing. You get 5 hit points per level. So in this case, we have 40 hit points that we can cure people, or we burn 5 at a time to remove poison or disease. And a bag full of leeches. So yeah, who needs caltrops? You just you throw some leeches out, and people either slip in them and or they'll just sort of get attached. All of her spells don't work and her prayers go unanswered. First point of damage she takes, she also dies of sepsis. What a character. Great weapon fighting. When you roll a 1 or a 2 on a damage die for an attack you make with a melee weapon you're wielding with 2 hands, you can re-roll the die and must use the new roll. The weapon must have the two-handed or versatile property. So yes, we could technically give her a long sword or a battle axe if we really, or a warhammer if we wanted to. Instead of a maul, she can two-hand a warhammer. I don't know. Flavorful. Do you like seeing her just going down the battlefield with an actual two-handed maul? or to kind of double up and wield with two hands a warhammer. Lomington, this is high fantasy Oregon Trail. Fluffy sheep, whenever I lay on hands, they fall asleep. Diadems. Spreading the joy is always a king. A rival appears. Lomington, that's kind of what Banner Saga is. Is a high fantasy Oregon Trail. We're going to worry about our spell casting later. That's one of the last things that I suggest you do, because it requires your ability scores to be filled in, and we're going to build a very beautiful character, and we're going to drop the engine in last. Divine Sense and Divine Smite. And then Divine Health. We are immune to disease. At third level, we're going to get our Sacred Oath, and we'll get into what we get with our oath in a little while. We are going to also receive an extra attack. And an Aura of Protection. Okay, we don't have our Aura of Courage yet at 10th level. So that would be a good test of wills, or are you willing to play a fearless character who still gets scared at level 10? It's a good halfway point, right? Okay, that is what we get for being a paladin. Now let's go down to Oath of the Ancients and discover what this is. What power is flowing through her when she hit this traumatic moment of the crisis of faith? What happened? How did she ascend? What honors did she earn? The Oath of the Ancients is as old as the race of elves and the rituals of the druids. Sometimes called Fey Knights, Green Knights, or Horned Knights, paladins who swear this oath cast their lot with the side of the light in the cosmic struggle against darkness because they love the beautiful and life-giving things of the world, not necessarily because they believe in principles of honor, courage, and justice. They adorn their armor and clothing with images of growing things, leaves, antlers, or flowers, to reflect their commitment to preserving life and light in the world. These are the tenets of the Ancients. The tenets of the Oath of the Ancients have been preserved for uncounted centuries. This oath emphasizes the principles of good above any concerns of law or chaos. You know, if we have a lawful neutral character, it still works. It's fine. If it's something, if your DM is hung up on, you can always bring up with them. Technically, elder brains are life-giving and beautiful. That only to the eye of the beholder, right? Its 4 central principles are simple. Kindle the light. Through your acts of mercy, kindness, and forgiveness, kindle the light of hope in the world, beating back despair. Shelter the light. Where there is good, beauty, love, and laughter in the world, stand against the wickedness that would swallow it. Where life flourishes, stand against the forces that would render it barren. Preserve your own light. Delight in song and laughter, in beauty and art. All the more reason to maybe give her, you know, art instead of a gaming set, maybe a painting set. If you allow the light to die in your own heart, you can't preserve it in the world. And be the light. Be a glorious beacon for all who live in despair. Let the light of your joy and courage shine forth in all your deeds. We are going to receive some oath spells. These are like domain spells for a cleric, so they do not count against the number of other spells you can prepare. We'll write these in quickly. Ensnaring Strike. And Speak with Animals. Moonbeam and Misty Step. Okay. Let's come back up. We are going to be receiving a Channel Divinity. So, it's going to give us 2 things we can do. We have Nature's Wrath. You can use your Channel Divinity to invoke primeval forces to ensnare a foe. As an action, you can cause spectral vines to spring up and reach for a creature within 10 feet of you that you can see. The creature must succeed on a strength or dexterity saving throw or be restrained, etc. so forth. And Turn the Faithless. You can use your Channel Divinity to utter ancient words that are painful for Fae and Fiends to hear. As an action, you present your holy symbol, and each Fae or Fiend, so devils or demons, Yugoloths, that's kind of the neutral ground, things like that, within 30 feet of you that can hear you must make a Wisdom saving throw. On a failed save, the creature is turned for 1 minute or until it takes damage. Turn the Faithless. And we're level 8, so we will get Aura of Warding. Being at 7th level, Ancient Magic lies so heavily upon you that it forms an Eldritch Ward. You and friendly creatures within 10 feet of you have resistance to damage from spells. That's at 7th level. If you're crowded up, you're just flat out taking half damage from magic. That's really good. Pat, maybe she lost a soldier under her care to an undead or undeath. Or, if we're going green, Fae, Fae aren't the nicest people. That could have been, or they could have been in a war with fiends where this happened. And so someone was turned into, a demon, to a succubus or an incubus. Or they were turned into some wretched, demonic, something or another. Helios, I have an off-topic question about monks. Can they be part of an evil monastery? King, yep, you got it. You can be of an evil order, Helios. The best monk ever was technically evil. Open that up. Oh, the Gundams. All right, Big Joe. Thank you for hanging out as much as you could. All right, now that we have all of our fun toys for our character, we have this beautiful, like the body and the interior, everything is ready to go. Now we have to drop an engine in it and we'll have a character. Strength and charisma is going to be important for spell casting. Strength is going to be important for, almost in a sense, spell casting, because as a paladin you get a lot of smite spells that trigger off of you hitting. So paladins are interesting because they have a dual requirement of strength and charisma to be high. Okay, Aura of Warding isn't as OP as first assumed because resistance doesn't stack, but geez, that's a good ability. Yeah, it is, Bobicus. At 7th level, all magic damage is just halved. Whew. Plus, don't forget too, Bobicus, when that stacks with Aura of Protection and your party is getting bonuses to save, and even if they fail... Well, actually, let's look at it this way, Bobicus. if they succeed, I throw a fireball at the party who actually is almost luring fireballs out because they're so crowded. You know, a wizard's going to be like, oh, you poor fools. Fireball. And it's for 60 damage. If they pass, that's half damage, so it goes to 30. And then that damage, due to resistance, is halved again. Everyone just took 15 points of fire damage from a 60-point fireball that was hurled at them. And they're just going to keep rolling up and marching on this wizard. Poor fighters and warlocks. In what regard, Bobicus? Alright, here we have our standard array of scores. Let's drop them in. Actually, if we do this, in a way, we can almost kind of cheese it a little bit. We go 15 and 1, 14 and 2. She's probably... I don't know if she's necessarily intelligent. I almost want to say we can give her intelligence the dump stat of 8. Right? We do that. That brings us down to 13, 12, and 10. Why don't we give her... She is probably very wise, given everything that's happened. If we go 13, 12, and 10, I think that will fit the character in how we're going about it. In her build, we're staying true to her personality, her livelihood, her decision-making, that kind of a thing. Half-elf, not intelligent? Surprising. If we include, then, the racial bumps, this is a 16 and a 16. And she is going to get 2 ability score improvements. Their mechanical advantage only show up when you play a game with a lot of combat and a lot of short rests and not a lot of long rests. Oh, yeah. And, you know, Bobicus, it's, see, that's always the fight, because how many times in a session, unless you count a fight as throwing, like, I don't know, 3 goblins at the party, one of them might take damage, one of the party members might take damage, and then you roll on and you throw 3 goblins at the party, and you're like, yeah, we're having 3 encounters a session. Yay. But anyway, we get 2 stat bumps where we add 2 points to 1 ability score, or 1 point to 2 ability scores. If we wanted to balance it out, we could go 18 charisma, 18 strength. We could go 2 in either charisma or strength, and then we could go 1 and 1 to bump up wisdom. Now, this is something for you to consider. Let's say that we split it, right? Let's give her an 18 charisma. You know, she conveys herself well. Okay, there we go. And we want to bump up her wisdom with the other one. So let's put 1 in wisdom. And now, what do we do with a stray ability point? We could put it in intelligence or constitution. Nothing here, nothing in the remaining scores is going to increase enough to have the modifier also rise up. Though one of these stats will give you a mechanical benefit. And that's... I'm sorry. Actually, Bubonic One made a good point. Constitution and Strength have mechanics built off of their scores. Not their modifiers, but their scores. If you put this extra point into Strength, you can carry, push, pull, lift, or drag more weight mechanically. If you put it into Constitution, you can hold your breath just a little bit longer. So it would be up to you then, where would I want to throw in this 1? Now, it doesn't mean you can't, I don't know, throw it in intelligence because you don't like her having a -1. But, you know, what would be important? Would it be more important for her to be able to, you know, traipse across the land, carry more? Or to make her herself a little bit healthier with a Constitution score bump? You can mix and match a few carrying capacity feats and abilities and lift the equivalent of a medieval bus. Strength so she can carry larger people. That makes a lot of sense, Pat. So let's put the extra 1 in strength. Because it's not just the people, it's any it's her med pack as well. Alright, this is going to give her a 3 strength, 0 dex, 1 con, -1 int, 2 wisdom, and 4 charisma. Throw it at people, upset all your DM's carefully crafted set pieces by throwing literal chunks of it at enemies, but still technically only do d6 damage because of silly improvised weapon rolls. Well, it does actually indicate that if something, you know, if something resembles, like, you're wielding a tree trunk, you know, and it's more like a maul, then use like a maul stat. Saving throws. Strength is 3. Athletics, skill check is 6. Dexterity, everything is going to be 0s across the board. Constitution will have a 1. Intelligence, we're just going to Control-C and Control-V multiple times. She can't tell you how things work, she just tells you why they work. Or something along those lines. Ivlon is now here. Ivlon has arrived. Saving throw has the proficiency, so 2 + 3 is 5. Right there. Insight, medicine, perception are the same. Animal handling and survival are going to be the straight up 2s from the modifier. 7 for the saving throw, intimidation, and persuasion. And 4 for deception and performance. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a very interesting concept. Do you feel like a resonance with her now that you've been able to play with her a little bit more, Ivlon? Have you been able to kind of like put out that vibe of your character? Passive perception is 10 plus your perception modifier, so hers is going to be 15. She is aware of what's happening around her. Hit points. At level 1, you get your maximum hit dice in hit points. For levels after that, and so she's an 8th level character, so we have 7 more levels on top of 1. I recommend using the half plus 1 method. In other words, she's going to get 6, right? Half of 10 is 5 plus 1 is 6. Your DM might have you roll your hit dice for your hit points every level. It is up to your DM. And finally, for every level, therefore all 8, you get bonus hit points equal to your Constitution modifier. So we have 8 times 1. Doing a little bit of the math here, we have 42, and this is just, well, it's a straight up 8. So we have 50. She has 60 hit points at level 8. Initiative is a dexterity check, so it's going to be a +0. Armor class, well, chainmail gives you 16, and then from there it's going to depend. Is she using her mace and a shield? Then it's going to be 18. Is she using her maul and she doesn't have her shield out? Then it's going to be 16. Helios asks, do you like video game RPGs such as Elder Scrolls as much as pen and paper? I have never played an Elder Scrolls game, Helios, though I get the concept. I've played I've played a lot of video game RPGs in the Final Fantasy franchise. Some Tales of Symphonia. And I did play Final Fantasy XI for a while, and I do play Final Fantasy XIV. They're not the same, though. They are both role-playing games, tabletop and video game, but they're not the same. I appreciate them in different ways. I hope that makes sense. Yvonne said she rode a dead character's body through an oil field to get out of the range of an explosion of fire. So she's pretty badass. To calculate your attacks, well, each of these are going to be strength-based weapons, right? You're bringing your arm down on someone. We're going to use our strength modifier, and as you're proficient in those weapons, you get your proficiency bonus. Therefore, she's swinging with a +6, regardless of the weapon. And then we can look at the damage when we get to Chapter 5. We've already given her 2 skills, and she receives no cantrips. Well, she's earned a name also, by the way. She's no longer a set of random stats. Now, to calculate if she's going to line up her finger and pew-pew at you and she needs to roll an attack with a spell, we're going to do the same thing we did for weapons, except her spells are cast off of charisma. In this case, then, it's going to be 4 + 3, so she is going to be pew-pewing with a +7. To calculate the difficulty class of the saves that my monsters, if I'm your DM, would have to make against your spell effects, you simply add 8 to your attack roll. And therefore, it's 15. Pat, yep. Yeah, they are... because, look, you can only operate within what the game was made to allow or do. Now, there's still fun within those boundaries, but it is definitely not the same as having all of this free form and improvisational thinking that a pen and paper or a tabletop role-playing game can offer. Diadems 1970, thank you for the follow. I hope you've been enjoying what we're doing here. There's a notification. Now that we have our stats, we can look at our page 3. You can prepare a number of spells as a paladin equal to your charisma modifier plus half your paladin level rounded down. In this case, we can prepare 7 other spells in addition to the freebies that our oath gives us. We cast off of charisma, so you can put that here. Or if you want, you can always do like charisma is +4 as a reference. We had a 15 save. We subtract 8, and that's our +7 for an attack. Over here, as a reminder, our lay on hands pool is 40, and we've used 0 of them. We have no cantrips. However, we can cast 4 first level spells and 3 second level spells. Like druids and clerics, paladins intrinsically know every paladin spell in the book. That's because their prayers are the spells. When they get up in the morning or pray at night, or however you're cycling it for your character, please grant me the ability to do X, Y, or Z. And so that's why you know your spells, because you're really just beseeching for miracles. For your will to be enacted by the gods, or God, singularly. So down here, you can split these 7 extra spells however you want between first and second levels. If you want to, if there are 6 level 1 spells that you absolutely love, prepare 6 of them, and then give your 7th down here to a level 2 spell. 5 and 2, 3 and 3, something along those lines. Couple other things then. We got to go, what is the trophy that this character got on the battlefield? And there's a couple stats for... Here we go. A mace is 1d6 bludgeoning. So that's the weapon damage. Don't forget, you get bonus damage equal to your strength modifier because we're using strength. A maul is 2d6 bludgeoning. Now, what's nice about this, remember that with great weapon fighting, any damage dice of a 1 or a 2 can get re-rolled. You're rolling 2d6, and so you have a 1/3 chance on each of those d6s that you'll get a number, and you're going to re-roll and have it be higher. So she's going to be putting in work with this maul because of her great weapon fighting ability. She will be dealing more damage, and that's not even if she starts burning her spell slots to smite people left and right. Let's go to our trinkets and roll a percentile die. 74. This is the trinket she obtained on the battlefield, possibly from a fallen soldier, a soldier who could have killed her but took pity on her instead. It could have been a gift given to her by someone she healed or left to her by someone she lost. Roleplay it. Think about it. What would be best? All right, 74 here. A fan. So here, our trinket is number 74. A fan that, when unfolded, shows a sleeping cat. Rihanna's in Discord. You enjoy both. In fact, I think one of the reasons Mandy likes 14 is because it combines the video game elements with the MMO community. Yes. That's a good summary, Evelyn. Rihanna's in Discord, so let's open it up and look real quick. Chopping more vegetables. Oh wait, was this is this a revision of what was above? That's by the way, the serving of the chopped veggies was very interesting. Oh, that's Yandere mode activated. Okay, gotcha. Such concentration, right? And then he looks up and then is looking up and at you with that look in his eyes. Camera 1, camera 2, camera 1, a camera 2. All right, so you know what? We have a character. I say for her name, we have an 8th level paladin that is ready to roll. You know, you can click in here, give her a character appearance. If you have a picture of her holy symbol or you know her rank of insignia, you can upload it here. Plenty of room for a character backstory, for allies and organizations, additional features and traits, all kinds of stuff. You can just go through and have fun. This, by the way, for a paladin is an excellent sheet as your companion. This is, if you choose to summon a mount as a paladin, you can put your mount's stats on this page 4. And so it's very handy, especially if combat occurs and something happens. Rian is Yanbei. All right, excellent, cool character. I hope that you know that all of you felt energized by this. Diadems, if you dig the character sheet and you'd like a copy for yourself, type in !! Charvar for character variant. Charvar. Yeah, Ivalon, I saw that you were on schedule to play in D&D time. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to catch when you were role-playing, but I hope that turned out really well. And you know, I really would love to interact in some way more with that community, because I really dig, I dig those guys' energy. I love the ideas. I love the interactivity that they have going on. And I would really like to, I don't know, try and cross-mogenate in some way with D&D time. Because I think those guys put on a good show, and it's a lot of fun. Well, and you know, Derek, if it's not your playstyle, it's not your playstyle. We all have preferences. We'll have to ship this and make it happen, Ivalon. Alright, I'm going to get up and take a little bit of a break. I'm going to go get a snack and maybe top off my pitcher of lemonade here. I'll be back in a little bit, and if any of you need help making a character, explaining rules, ask questions, participate. This isn't just a lecture. This is an overall presentation and an invitation to sit down at our table and be a part of what we have going on. I will be back shortly, and we'll if you need help, that's priority. Otherwise, we have to make our last character for the campaign that we're going to be planning tomorrow.